Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Veena Vallabha Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Srimad Divine Grace AC Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 O my Lord, Sri Krishna, Son of Vasudeva, all-pervading personality of Godhead, now from our respectful obeisances unto you. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by Srila Prabhupada, Canto 5, The Creative Impetus. Chapter 1, last verse of the chapter, the activities of Maharaj Priyavrata. Today's, it's number 41 is the last verse. Bhaumam divyam manasham cha
Bhaumam divyam manasham cha
mahitvam karma yogajam
mahitvam karma yogajam
yaschakre nirayau pamyam
yaschakre nirayau pamyam
purusha nujana priyaha
purushanujana priyaha
Bhaumam divyam manasham cha
Bhaumam divyam manasham cha
mahitvam karma yogajam
mahitvam karma yogajam
yaschakre nirayau pamyam
yaschakre nirayau pamyam
purusha nujana priyaha
purushanujana priyaha
Bhaumam divyam manusam cha
Bhaumam divyam manusham cha
ahitvam karma yogajam
Mahitva karma yogajam
yaschakre nirayalpamyam
Yaschakre nirayopamyam
purushanujana priyaha.
Purushanujana priya
Bolo.
Omam divyam manusham cha
Bhaumam divyam manusham cha
Mahitvam karma yogajam
Mahitvam karma yogajam
Yaschakre nirayopamyam
Yaschakre nirayopamyam
Purushanujana priyaha
Purushanujana priya
Bhaumam divyam manusham cha
Bhaumam divyam manusham cha
Mahitvam karma yogajam
Mahitvam karma yogajam
Yaschakre nirayopamyam
Yaschakre nirayopamyam
Purushanujana priyaha
Purushanujana priya
Omam divyam manusham cha
Bhaumam divyam manusham cha
Mahitvam karma yogajam
Mahitvam karma yogajam
Yaschakre nirayopamyam
Yaschakre nirayopamyam Purushanujana priya Bhaumam divyam manusham cha Bhaumam divyam manusham cha Mahitvam karma yogajam Mahitvam karma yogajam Yaschakre nirayopamyam Yaschakre nirayopamyam Purushanujana priya Purushanujana priya
Bhaumam divyam manusham cha
Bhaumam divyam manusham cha
Mahitvam karma yogajam
Mahitvam karma yogajam
Yaschakre nirayopamyam
Yaschakre nirayopamyam
Purushanujana priyaha
Purushanujana priya
Anyone else? Okay. Word for word. Bhaumam
Bhaumam
of the lower planets.
of the lower planets
Divyam
Divyam
heavenly.
heavenly
Manusham
Manusham
of human beings.
of human beings
Cha
Cha
also.
also
Mahitvam
Mahitvam
all opulences.
all opulences
Karma
Karma
by fruitive activities.
by fruitive activities
Yoga
Yoga
by mystic power.
by mystic power
Jam
Jam
born.
born
Yaha
Yaha
one who.
one who
Chakre
Chakre
did.
did
Niraya
Raya
withheld.
withheld
Alpamyam
Alpamyam
comparison or equality.
comparison or equality
Purusha
Purusha
of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
of the Supreme Personality of Godhead
Anujana
Anujana
to the devotee.
devotee
Priyaha
Priya
most dear.
most dear
Translation: as a great follower and devotee of the sage Narada, Maharaj Priyavrata considered hellish the opulences he had achieved by dint of fruitive activities and mystic power, whether in the lower or heavenly planetary systems or in human society. Please repeat, as a great follower and devotee
the great follower and devotee
of the sage Narada,
of the sage Narada
Maharaj Priyavrata considered hellish
Maharaj Priyavrata considered hellish
the opulences he had achieved
the opulences he had achieved
by dint of fruitive activities and mystic power,
by dint of fruitive activities and mystic power,
whether in the lower or heavenly planetary systems
whether in the lower or heavenly planetary system
or in human society.
or in human society.
Srila Prabhupada's purport, Srila Rupa Goswami has said that the position of a devotee is so super excellent that a devotee does not consider any material opulence worth having. There are different types of opulences on earth, in the heavenly planets, and even in the lower planetary system. known as patala. A devotee, however, knows that they are all material, and consequently he is not at all interested in them. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, parang drishtva nivartate. Sometimes yogis and jnanis voluntarily give up all material opulences to practice their system of liberation and taste spiritual bliss. However, they frequently fall down because artificial renunciation of material opulences cannot endure. One must have a superior taste in spiritual life. Then he can give up material opulence. Maharaj Priyabrata had already tasted spiritual bliss, and therefore he had no interest in any of the material achievements available in the lower, higher, or middle planetary systems. Thus end the Bhagavatam purports to the 5th canto, 1st chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Activities of Maharaj Priyabrata. Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Ajnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Akshurundalitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master is kindly opening my eyes with the torch of knowledge. Now for my respectful obeisances unto him. So, last verse of chapter. Sukadev, he concludes the chapter by glorifying Maharaj Priyavrata's ability to detach himself from everything except what? Krishna. He's got the higher taste. So how did he do this? So right in the purport, Prabhupada tells us, Prabhupada notes the exalted nature of devotees' realizations. He says, Srila Rupa Goswami has said that the position of a devotee is so super excellent that a devotee does not consider any material opulence worth having. There are different types of opulences on earth, in the heavenly planets, and even in the lower planetary system known as Patala. A devotee, however, knows that they are all material, and consequently he is not at all interested in them. And so why isn't he interested? Because anything material has a beginning and an end. Yeah. Even if you win the lottery, or you get the girl, or you get the guy, or you get the house, or you become president, all right? A lot of times Prabhupada, because Prabhupada was preaching in the 70s, and when Nixon got kicked out, Prabhupada said, just see, they voted him, they said, yes, you're the president, but then they kicked him out. Because that's the way it is in the material world. It's a whole game of King of the Hill. You ever play that as a kid? You're at the top of the slope, and then everybody's trying to drag you down because you're on the top, right? And then somebody else is king. So for what was it, 38 years, this Ayatollah was the supreme leader, and then the first morning of the bombing, he was taken out. That's just the way it is. Your karma's up. Or when Prabhupada was at John Lennon's estate, and he's preaching to Lennon and Yoko and George, and he's saying, so Prabhupada's saying, so you're the leaders, yeah, everybody's following you. So you should take advantage. You shouldn't just try to do this on your own. You should try to do this. This is because you had your past previous activities. There's one letter where Prabhupada wrote to Shyam Sundar. So we have just passed John Lennon's house in his previous life in Calcutta.
What? Can you say that again?
Yeah, it's a letter to Shyam Sundar. You can read it on the database. So we just, Prabhupada's writing, we've just passed John Lennon's house in his previous life in Calcutta. In his previous life, Prabhupada, I don't know how Prabhupada knew this, but I think Krishna told him or something, that in his previous life, John Lennon was a great patron of musicians. he was really supportive, and because of this, he's now, his karma is he's been given all this musical ability. Is he? So Prabhupada's telling the Beatles, he's saying, so you're on top now. But that can all be. Prabhupada, you can hear on the recording Prabhupada's fingers. That can all be taken away. And then he says, just like President Kennedy, he was very beautiful, handsome. He had a beautiful wife. He was president of the United States, the most powerful person in the world. And then Prabhupada snapped his fingers. Boom. 1 second. It's gone. Finished. So devotees know that these things just come and go. It's known as Bhutva Praliyate in the 8th chapter. Again and again the day comes and this host of beings is active. And again the night falls, O Partha, and they are helplessly dissolved. Coming and going, created, destroyed, created, destroyed. Oh, what a game, huh? Terrible game we bought into. So, yeah. So, and then further, as Srila Rupa Goswami says in today's verse, that Maharaj Prithu was, Priyavrata, again I'm doing it, was, quote, a great follower of the devotee and sage Narada. And we recall, and so that's where he was getting his higher taste. He was before he dutifully assumed the kingship at the request of Brahma and Indra, the kingdom needed tending to. But he had already gotten this higher taste. And so speaking of the higher, we recall the higher taste that Naimisharanya sages achieved in Sutta Goswami's association. So, that's why I brought the first canto, because there's a couple of, well, especially the second verse. It's 118, it's Maharaj Parikshit cursed by a Brahmin boy. And in 118.12, this is the sages at Naimisharanya. We have just begun the performance of this fruitive activities. And they're prepared. They're so concerned about what Kali Yuga is going to do that they're prepared to sit down for 1,000 years to try to invoke auspiciousness in this age of Kali. We have just begun the performance of this fruitive activity. They're calling it fruitive activity, a sacrificial fire, without certainty of its result due to the many imperfections in our action. Our bodies have become black from the smoke, but we are factually pleased by the nectar of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, Govinda, which you are distributing. So they're trying to counteract something bad by something good, but then actually Sutta Goswami, who was present when Shukadev spoke to Parikshit on the bank of the Jamuna, he heard it with rapt attention, so he's going to distribute the same message. And now, so they're getting a higher taste from Sutta. And so here's the famous verse. You might have heard this. The sages say, it must have been Shaunaka, because he was the spokesperson. Tulya malavena pi nasvargang na punarbhavam bhagavat sangi sangasya bhartyanam kimuta shishaha. And that means the value of a moment's association with the devotee of the Lord cannot even be compared to the attainment of heavenly planets. This is the same idea. Yeah, same idea. Who cares about heaven when you got this? This is beyond heaven. Cannot even be compared to the attainment of heavenly planets or liberation from matter. And what to speak of worldly benedictions in the form of material prosperity, which are for those who are meant for death. Right? We can't take any of this with us, right? Whatever we think we have. So this is a knockout purport, so I just want to read it. And it just drives the point home here even deeper. Purport. When there are some similar points, it is possible to compare one thing to another. That's how Prabhupada starts. So he's about to say, you can't even compare these things to the association of devotees. One cannot compare the association of a pure devotee to anything material. Men who are addicted to material happiness aspire to reach the heavenly planets, like the moon, Venus, and Indraloka, and those who are advanced in material philosophical speculations aspire after liberation from all material bondage. When one becomes frustrated with all kinds of material advancement, one desires the opposite of liberation, which is called apunar bhava, or no rebirth. But the pure devotee of the Lord, pure devotees of the Lord, do not aspire after the happiness obtained in the heavenly kingdom, nor do they aspire after liberation from material bondage. In other words, for the pure devotees of the Lord, the material pleasures obtainable in the heavenly planets are like phantasmagoria. Anybody not know what that means? It's like an illusion, a mirage. Phantasmagoria. And because they are already liberated from all material conceptions of pleasure and distress, they are factually liberated even in the material world. This means that the pure devotees of the Lord are engaged in a transcendental existence, namely in the loving service of the Lord, both in the material world and in the spiritual world. As a government servant is always the same, either in the office or at home or at any place, so a devotee has nothing to do with anything material, for he is exclusively engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord. Since he has nothing to do with anything material, what pleasure can he derive from material benedictions like kingship or other overlordships, which are finished quickly with the end of the body? Devotional service is eternal. It has no end because it is spiritual. Therefore, since the assets of a pure devotee are completely different from material assets, there is no comparison between the two. Sutta Goswami was a pure devotee of the Lord, and therefore his association with the rishis in Naimisharanya is unique. In the material world, association with gross materialists is veritably condemned. The materialist is called Yoshit Sangi, or one who is much attached to material entanglement, parentheses, women and other paraphernalia, or your lady, men and other paraphernalia. Such attachment is conditioned because it drives away the benedictions of life and prosperity. And just the opposite is Bhagavat Sangi, or one who was always in the association of the Lord's name, form, qualities, etc. Such association is always desirable, it is worshipable, it is praiseworthy, and one may accept it as the highest goal of life. So, so that reminded me that just after I returned from India, everyone was asking me, what was the best part of my trip? I remember right during the announcements, that's what Sandamani said. What was the best thing? And I said just what I told everybody. I replied, the association of so many wonderful devotees. That's the best part. Nitai is shaking his head. Isn't it amazing? I mean, wow. Yeah, so many wonderful devotees who gave us, I'm putting this in air quotes, their Prabhupada. Especially when they gave class. You had all these amazing people giving class. Now, the first person I'm thinking of is when Vaisheshika Prabhu gave class, Bhagavatam class, he compared the material world to a rabbit hole into which we've fallen. And if you look at rabbit hole in the dictionary, the origin of the phrase is, anybody know? Anybody guess? Alice in Wonderland, exactly. When Alice fell down the rabbit hole into this, fantasy land. Once in the material world, Vaisheshika described many subsequent rabbit holes we fall into, deepening our illusion. For example, the rabbit hole of thinking I am this body. And we just spend our whole life in this illusion, this rabbit hole, thinking I am this body. And that dictates all our choices, all our thinking, feeling, and willing, which blocks the human potential to transcend. Then Vaisheshika gave us a vision of a higher taste. So he didn't just leave us in the rabbit hole. It was good. He knew how to take us out of the rabbit hole, right? By seeing how, and then he said, by seeing. Because when you're in this dark hole or well of material existence, you can't really see things as they are. By seeing through Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, we can remember Krishna, no matter what space we enter. Oh yeah. So I have a godbrother, Shauri Prabhu. Anybody know Shauri? I guess you know. You know Shauri? Anyway, he lived in Hawaii for many years, and he was part of this infamous team, or famous or infamous, depending on your point of view, team of collectors in Japan in the 70s. Anybody heard of this team? Guru Kripa and his team. They used to call themselves the Dirty Dozen after a movie in the 60s. And they were doing, they were giving Prabhupada, they were giving him tens. One time, Guru Kripa even brought back in cash $100,000 and plunked it on Prabhupada's, at his table.
Jewel theft, right?
Oh, they were doing all kinds of stuff.
Jewel theft.
Well, watches.
Jewel theft.
It was, yeah. And they eventually got kicked out of Japan. So anyway, Shauri was, he was part of the Dirty Dozen. And so he was caught, and he got thrown in jail in solitary in Tokyo. Talk about a dark space, right? For 40 days in solitary. So that's like, if you go to most prisoners, if you ask them what's the hardest thing, they don't want to go into solitary, because it's so, because we're social beings, even though prison's a hard place. So, no, don't throw me in the hole. They call it the hole. Yeah, the hole, rabbit hole. But Shauri, he took advantage, because he's actually a very serious sadhaka. Right now he lives in Prabhupada Village. He's organic gardening, supports himself through supplying fruits and vegetables to farmers markets. So anyway, so he made up, okay, I'm in solitary, for 40 days. I'm going to take advantage. I'm going to chant 100 rounds a day. And he said he never got such a high taste from chanting. Wow. Because he liked it that he wasn't with the other prisoners, because he had to associate with, there's hardened criminals in these places, right? So that was how the devotee took advantage of the bad association, or the bad predicament, and he made, what does it say? Make lemonade, right? Yeah, and came out stronger. He came out stronger for it. Now another great devotee who gave class in Mayapur was the great Badri Narayan Maharaj. And yes, and if you ever heard of Badri Narayan Maharaj's classes, he was constantly peppering his classes with Prabhupada anecdotes to bring the points he was making alive. And he would constantly do this. He was always doing this. But you know, and I didn't get to hear many of the classes because I didn't live in San Diego. He's given a couple here, but so when I heard him, and he was doing that. He was making his points come alive with Prabhupada stories. I was thinking, boy, I wish I could hear more from this person, but I could see he was, as he was saying, on his last legs. He said, I should have been dead, you know, a year ago, but somehow I'm still. So everything is I'm on borrowed time here. So then, okay, but then I got some mercy. I mean, a lot of us have been watching, like Kirtan sent me a video, different videos of Bhagavatam Narayan Maharaj. Then I went on YouTube, and I stumbled on it, and it was a tribute in New Dwarka to Bhagavatam Narayan Maharaj, because he was a GBC in the West Coast. So especially Svavas, he spoke first, and Ashram Maharaj had a lot of association when Ashram Maharaj lived in San Diego, and Brigupati Prabhu, the ageless book distributor, he's in his mid-70s, still tearing it up. And sometimes Vijay sends me stories about him. He doesn't send stories, but then people who are distributing with him send stories about his exploits. Yeah. And so they knew him intimately. They knew him. They had a lot of association with him. So what I didn't get, just knowing him a little bit, I got great detail from hearing Svavas. So here, for example, here's how Svavas was giving us a higher taste in Krishna consciousness by talking about Bhagavatam Narayan Maharaj. Svavas said, we always supported each other. I was the temple president in LA, and I've been doing this for 40 years. And when you do something like this, when you're president of a big temple, things happen. And there's a lot of controversies happen, and I had to make tough decisions that half the people would hate me and stuff like that. But Maharaj, he said, he always had my back. He always supported me. And he similarly, he was the GBC for many years, and I supported him. So it was a very sweet remembrance. And then he read, and then Svavas read a letter that Prabhupada wrote 19-year-old Badri Narayan Prabhu in November 71, when Badri was only 19 years old, and he was the temple president. He had first contacted devotees in Laguna Beach. I don't know how that happened, but anyway, but 2 years later, he was the temple president in Ann Arbor. He's from Michigan, actually, where Prabhupada was praising Bhagavatam Narayan Prabhu as a good manager. I mean, he's 19 years old, and he's managing a very important college preaching center. Ann Arbor is the home of U of M, University of Michigan, a big prestigious school, where Prabhupada was praising him as a good manager, always looking out for the welfare of devotees. It's the long letter. He read the whole letter, from Prabhupada to Bhagavatam Narayan. And Svavas is going, can you imagine this? He's 19 years old. He's president of the center, and Prabhupada's saying, you're one of our senior men now. You 2 years a devotee, and he's the president of the center. So I'm depending on you. And he's praising him for always looking out for the welfare of devotees. And that's what Shavas was picking up on. That was Badri Narayan Maharaj's. That's how he was manifesting Prabhupada. Prabhupada, the protector of his devotees. So Badri Narayan Maharaj, he liked to do that. He was good at management. And Shavas said, I don't know if a lot of you know this. I didn't know until recently, because Badri didn't say this. But he said when he joined the movement, his father offered him $1 million to leave. Did you know that, Srimad? I didn't know that. Badri Narayan Maharaj. That's not true? Well, that's what he said Badri told him.
Badri's dad was not favorable. He said, at least you're president of something.
Yeah,
because
right.
His dad was president of a bank.
Yeah, he was wealthy. And so, and this is what Shavas said, he offered him $1 million, but Badri said no. And so then, I remember that story too. Yeah, that you're president or something. My father also said that to me. I wish you could have written for Time magazine, but at least you're writing for Back to Godhead. You're a good writer.
Nanda Vishnu Swami's father said, "You're the top of your field, so I'm proud of you."
So that's how because Badri was and the reason he was a good manager is because he cared. That's what Shavas was saying. He cared about the devotees, and he really wanted to make sure that they were encouraged, protected, not discouraged. So he would take a personal interest in you. And then Brigupati Prabhu, the book distributor, said he joined in 73 in New York. And you can tell he's from New York by the way he talks, New Yorker. So he came in 73. But what he said, when he came to New Dwarka in the 90s, he was in a bad way. He was discouraged. He was going through, I think might have been going through a divorce or something, transitioning. And he was really down in the mid-90s. But when he came to New Dwarka somehow. And so then he met Badri Narayan Maharaj, who he'd heard about, but he'd never known. And he said, Maharaj, help me turn my life around. And this is how he did it. He started scolding him. He said, look, Brigupati, you're a great soul. You're one of Prabhupada's, and he said, I had my hair all grown out, I had a big beard. I looked like something the cat dragged in, when I came to New Dwarka. But he just grabbed me by the shirt. He said, what are you doing? Come on, snap out of this. So he did. He kind of like shook him. He shook him away, shook him out of his mode. He turned his life around, and he became, recommitted to book distribution. Recommitted. So again, Badri Narayan was very kind, and his kindness was expressed through scolding him. Because he said, when he was scolding me, I was thinking, well, this guy's heavy. What's he doing? Come on, I need sympathy. But he wasn't giving him sympathy. Very intense. Then Ashram Maharaj came into the video, because Shavasa said, oh, Ashram Maharaj, come on, you lived in San Diego for so many years. So then Ashram Maharaj came in, and he sat on the seat, and it was really good, because Ashram Maharaj was saying, now, I'm not going to simply give you hagiography. This is where you make everything rosy. I'm going to give you Maharaj's sharp edges. I'm going to give you his sharp edges, which were tough to take in the moment, but they also helped recommit him to Prabhupada's movement, because he had taken some distance from the movement and had taken shelter of, Gaudiya, other Gaudiya Mat personality. And so, but then Badri he said he was bringing him in. He said, then this was just, I remember that when I was the day Maharaj gave class, Badri Maharaj gave class, then after class, I was talking to Ashram Maharaj. I said, so what are you doing today? He said, well, I'm meeting with Maharaj and a couple of other people because they're trying to get me to take up more responsibility in ISKCON. And so it's going to be a heavy meeting because I'm kind of nervous about this. But it was Maharaj and a couple of other people, and they were on his case that we're giving you this great opportunity to reconnect with Prabhupada's movement in a very responsible way, but you're dragging your feet. You're dragging your feet on this. You got homework to do. So Ashram Maharaj said, yeah, okay. You're right, I'll do it. So, and then he said, and this is in LA, he's saying this, and then he's saying, today I've got to go to San Diego. And I just can't imagine San Diego without Bhajra Narayan Maharaj. So what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to have a big crying session with all these devotees that I know very well in San Diego, who have been there for decades. And we can know it's like a big hole. It's like a big shoes to fill. You can't fill this. So what are we going to have to do? And then Slavas comes in. He goes, well, we're all going to have to step up. We're all going to have to step up. We can't just, because Bhajra Narayan Maharaj was a very intense personality. And I'm very glad that Sandamani had such a nice relationship with him, because you don't want to be at Bhajra Narayan Maharaj's bad side, because he's very intense, right? So we're all going to have to step up. And we don't know, he said, we don't know who is going to be the GBC, but actually he said, we are grooming somebody, and it's this Rupanuga Prabhu from who's been in Laguna Beach. He started the GBC college. And I actually know him a little bit too. I had some correspondence with. So we're going to have to all step up. We can't just, we can't depend on his physical presence anymore. We're going to have to up our game. So, in this way, I got to know Bhadra Narayan Maharaj in sound through the testimonies of others, the tributes of others, because I didn't have much association physically. I remember when he came just before, it wasn't the last time he came, or when was the last time he came?
Just over a year ago, like 2024.
Yeah, okay, yeah. It was that. Yeah, it was that time. And he hadn't seen me, since my year of, what do you call it? Purification, right? And so he goes, how you doing? How you doing? I mean, he's really trying to hear, He said, don't worry, just keep going. We all get whacked. That's what he said. If you live long enough in this movement, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes, and sometimes you're going to make really bad mistakes. So just keep going. Just take the whack, take the purification. And I said, yeah, Maharaj, actually, I was appreciating the whack. He said, good for you. I'm happy to see you, leading things again. So, yeah. So this is the last verse of the chapter, Activities of Maharaj Priyavrata. This is very interesting. He was able to come back. He was able to renounce he was able to renounce again, but because of his association with Narada Muni. And the next chapter, which Tira will start tomorrow, the activities of Maharaj Agnitra, very different personality, very different than his father, and we're going to hear why too. So, okay, any questions or comments? I saw Kirtaneshwar.
What year did Bobby take sannyas?
2014.
2014, yeah. And then he started initiating in 2018?
2020.
2020?
His first disciple, I think he got approved in 2018, but he didn't have a disciple until
Okay.
2020. Actually, a little after that, because his first disciple was getting initiated when I was getting my second initiation. I remember.
2022, right? It was he only did
It was about 2021.
21, okay.
Was when Govardhan took initiation, and then Bhadrayana Swami, I believe, has 4 disciples: one husband and wife, and then 2 brahmacharis. Govardhan, and I forgot the other one's name.
Yeah, another thing Shabas read was the letter, maybe you've read it on the internet, of Maharaj's last day in Vrindavan.
Oh, yeah.
Very moving letter from the servant who was serving him.
Right. And what was the gist of it?
The gist was, it was a normal day. Maharaj said, I won't be going to Bhagavatam class because I want to make this a day. And it was just like, you can see with hindsight that Krishna was, he brought him to Vrindavan circumstantially. It wasn't really on his itinerary, but he just came because he wanted, he came. This is another example, Srivasa, of how responsible he was. He wanted to come to see, he wanted to go to the temples of Vrindavan, and he wanted to settle up some bills with Rasa Bihari Lal, not with Ganga Prasad, Rasa Bihari Lal. And so they went to the temple, and then he said, I want to go to the Ranganath temple. And then, and he was in a Toto, he was one of these little machines. And so the Toto driver was saying, his servant was saying that, Maharaj, this is, to go in the front entrance, it's really tough to get through all the crowds. And so Maharaj said, no, you got to take some austerity. If you want to see the Lord, it's not a cheap thing. You got to do some austerity. So then they were going through the crowds, and it was taking its toll on him because, by then, how he was just bent over and multiple maladies. And so he said to his servant, okay, we got Darshan and Ranganath, but I won't make it going back. So tell the Toto driver to come around the back, which is shorter. And so he did that. And then they went back to the temple, and then Maharaj was taking he wasn't eating. He was starting to feel funny. And then the servant said, what was the servant's name? I forget. Yeah. From the Philippines, right?
I don't know if it was, the name that I saw there wasn't Govardhan, but Govardhan was always his servant.
Yeah,
so I don't know,
it was somebody else.
Maybe he has another servant now.
Yeah.
He fires servants
Yeah.
quite often.
Was Govardhan the fellow from the Philippines?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But was that somebody else?
Maharaj famously, he goes through servants fast.
Oh. So anyway, they were in the NVT, the nice place, and suite of rooms. And so Maharaj, he was he was in a lot of discomfort. And so, so the servant said, so I was, I could see, because he was calling me a lot, to give me a massage or to give me some juice or something. And then, or something to eat. And then, and because he was calling me a lot, I just parked myself right outside his room on some mat or something. But then he didn't call me. And, but then he called, he finally did come. He called, and then he said, I found it funny that he didn't call me for something to eat. He always took a little something in the evening and he'd call me. So then I thought, okay, well, I guess he's sleeping. And then he went to check on Maharaj. And then, because he said Maharaj wanted him to wake him for some reason. I forget. And he shook him, but there was no response. So then he got scared. Oh, what's going on here? So then he talked to, Panchagoda eventually, the TP, temple president. He got a hold of him and called him, I guess, and he said, Prabhu, Maharaj is not responding. I'm shaking, we're not responding. So can you send a doctor over here? So the doctor came over, took his pulse, no pulse, and then confirmed that actually Maharaj had left his body. Yeah.
I remember though, before that happened, that Maharaj did call him a few times, but for no reason. He just like wanted to be sure he was there.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
thought that was kind of sweet. I mean, I would have felt comforted that I was there for Maharaj. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That was.
Yeah. So he just went to sleep. He did go to sleep, but he woke up in Krishna's arms. Okay, let's give Chandrika a chance.
Well, I'd raised my hand and I never got it.
Oh, okay, because you, okay. All right.
I just wanted to share briefly my little experience with Bhajan Swami. I didn't, have very much experience with him, but he was always extraordinarily encouraging to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really encouraging. And so the last thing he said to me was I gave a class in San Diego. And he said, Kirtaneshwar, come here. Really heavy, like called me over like heavy. I thought I was going to be like chastised for my class.
You never knew.
And he looked at me and he said, that was a good class. He said, you have a brain. He said, you thought about it. You actually made a point. And it was a good point. And he said, a lot of people get up there and they ramble and they rant, but they rant about Krishna and it's nice. But you really had a nice point. You thought about it. You spoke so nicely. He said, good job. And I mean that.
Sounds like you.
It was so good. I felt so much encouraged. And then last time he was here, he told me, he said, Prabhu, you like to preach. Don't ever stop preaching, because if you stop preaching, you're dead. He said, you're dead. He said, so do what you have to do. Take sannyas, get married. But he said, don't ever stop preaching or you're dead. I always appreciate that. Those instructions live in me, my heart.
Yes, good.
Oh,
Chandrika, Devi, Sarvakanti.
Well, Badri Narayan Maharaj was definitely pretty heavy. I was in LA in the 90s, and there was a lot of, things going on there. So I know he had that very strong way about him, which was amazing, actually. But when he came here, like towards the end of 2024, and we asked him if he would come over to Krishna's home. And so he did, and he kind of stated that he didn't have much time, but he'll come. But when he came, he literally couldn't leave. I mean, he was there, and he wanted to know every detail about everything. He spoke to all the residents, as much as he could. And then he saw Vaikuntanath Prabhu was sort of on his last.
He saw him.
Oh yeah,
oh, wow.
Yeah, and he could. He was really surprised when he saw him, because he seemed like he was. It seemed like he wasn't alive, but he was. He was in the, and so he kept like asking questions about him, and like, so he's gonna leave his body here, and I was like, yeah. And then he was like, he was really amazed that we had such a facility to even accommodate someone like him and the others. It was going to happen, and like Kirtaneshwar said, he was very encouraging. And I don't know if he kind of knew that something was going to happen within him, but he kept saying, like, whatever support you need, you need to get the support. You need to keep this open. This is a, he liked the house. He was amazed that, we designed it and everything, and all the time and used everything to be put in it. So he was really like, and afterwards I remember thinking that, maybe he knew something was going on intuitively. because he kept pushing that, like, you've got to keep this going. And even when he left and went outside, to put his shoes on, and we took a picture together and everything. And he was just, it's like he was still out there for like another 20 minutes afterwards. But yeah, and he knew that Vaikuntanath was leaving, and he just kept saying, he kept going over to him and touching him and saying.
You must have known him.
Yeah. Yeah, he said he knew him. He said, I some dealings I had with him were not so good, but he's a good devotee. So he said things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He also was. He's the only one it's never manifested, but he's the only one that's talked about it, at least, of having a care facility for devotees in Mayapur, elderly devotees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was even saying, maybe I need to be here. I was like, well, you're welcome.
Oh, well. Yeah. Right. Okay. So. Oh, yes.
I have to glorify Maharaj here, if that's all right. So I remember him whacking a devotee while I was in Vrindavan. So I tried to back up the devotee. Man, did I ever get whacked? Like, super bad. And I was shocked as to how he could know all the details. Like, because the devotee didn't share, and he just knew everything. And I responded not appropriately, and I'm sorry for that. And then I got super, super whacked. So it took me about 3 years to get over that, and I'm glad I did get over that, because I deserved it. And it turned out really sweet, actually. I ended up donating some money to him and apologized many times. And then after about 3 years, I just realized this is great mercy, actually, incredible mercy. Because if you really care about somebody, you chastise them, if you're in that position. And he really did, and hardcore, but it was actually really great. It was really, really good. It was great, and then it ended up he being very encouraging again, but firm. It was just beautiful, actually. But I wasn't used to that, so I had an issue. But I'm glad I got over that issue way before this all happened. So anyway, this is actually to glorify Maharaj.
Yeah.
Because he cared that much.
Yeah.
And he did. It's amazing how he could know so much, like empowered to manage.
Yes. Yeah, he was definitely. Okay. Anybody else?
I would say this whole Bhajna Swami reading his body for me was really inspiring, because dealing with managerial stuff is like really toxic to me. Makes me want to actually die inside. And because you apparently have to, it seems like you have to offend people a lot. It's like you upset a lot of Vaishnavas, and it's really horrible. And Maharaj was, famously really intense. A lot of devotees, had take a wide berth around him, so to speak. And, and it's kind of like we can say so many things, but he was doing every single bit of it for Krishna.
That's right.
And you saw that even though all of that, with some hurt feelings and so forth, Krishna took him back to Godhead right in Vrindavan. And it really made me think of just how merciful and how kind and how we how Krishna is so kind to his devotees, and he cares so deeply, and how he appreciates it, and how Maharaj was doing such an intense service to be on the GBC for so many years. And he was a really intense, he was there involved in it, GBC, for so many years, and such a hard service. And, people can criticize the GBC and they do so many things, but look how much Krishna thought of it. Look how dear, look how much it meant to Prabhupada and Krishna that Krishna brought him to Vrindavan and then took him right back to Godhead. So it's just so nice to think like that and see like that.
Yeah.
Those things is beautiful sadhana.
Yeah, he has beautiful sadhana.
Beautiful sadhana. He's doing the whole program in the temple. Always chanting his japa in the temple.
Early morning, really wake up before him.
Static. And the classes, my God, over the chops.
You couldn't wake up before Maharaj. You didn't know how early you wake up, he'd be in there. But really admirated.
The greatest class I've ever heard was him in Mayapur. Best class I've ever heard by far. Wow.
Jai, Bhajan Narayan Maharaj ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hari Bol.
Very nice.